Sinners, a 2025 American film produced, written, and directed by Ryan Coogler. Set in 1932 in the Mississippi Delta, the film stars Michael B. Jordan in dual roles as criminal twin brothers who return to their hometown to start again and are confronted by supernatural evil. The film also co-stars Haley Steinfeld, Miles Caton, Jack O'Connell, Rumi Musaku, Jamie Lawson, Omar Miller, and Delroy Lindo. This film premiered on April 18th, 2025, and went on to receive huge critical acclaim and grossed $364 million worldwide, becoming the 8th highest grossing film of 2025, in a film that blended horror with history with music. And it is, believe me, apropos that for Black Music Month, we end the month with the most talked about film of the year. Vincent's selection for this stop on the Micheaux Mission. Vincent, what say you of Sinners?
Well, it's actually a little ironic that we're doing this in June, which is after May, which is Mother May I. And, you know, I've often said that the one silver lining of Mother May I for me is that oftentimes the films are so bad, you don't have to spend a lot of time talking about the film itself, because it's a bad film. So then it liberates you to talk about other things. And the irony is we have that same freedom with Sinners, but for the opposite reason.
Right.
Like, I think, quite honestly, there's I don't know how much you can talk about how good this film is at this point. Like, it is a masterpiece on every the filmmaking, the performances, the script, the costumes, the sound editing, just all of it. So if you're here for that part of the review, we're going to assume that you know that both of us strongly recommend this film.
Right.
And it is required viewing.
Right.
So then that made me think about this film through the prism of Black Music Month, and this film as an examination of the blues, which it is. And the line that stays with me, and even today I got a little chill when I heard it, is the final statement from Stack at the end of the film, in the first of two after credit scenes, where Sammy, now an old man, asks Stack about that night. And Stack says, you know, it's the last time I saw the sun, it's the last time I saw my brother.
Yeah.
And just for a few hours, we were free. And that's such an amazing line to me. Because at this point in the film, he has been a vampire for almost 60 years. But even from his perspective, this is the moment that he was free. And so much of that speaks to the nature of the blues and what the blues represent and what the blues are. You know, I'm not like a blues dude. Like we were talking earlier about, you know, I like Howlin' Wolf, I like B.B. King, but I don't really like the blues like that. You know, I read a couple of things that, you know, I'm probably going to paraphrase some of the great thoughts. Like there's this wonderful book called Stompin' the Blues, 1979, Albert Murray, and I read that like last year. Like, I'm pretty sure I mentioned it to you. It's a great book just about the blues. And then I saw an interview with Delroy Lindo of a month or so ago, and he talked about reading Blues People by Amiri Baraka, but he wrote it when he was Leroy Jones. So I read that like last week. And I think when you talk about the blues, it is this cultural moment where the act of transgression meets transcendence. And by that I mean being Black, like just being black in this country, so much of what we have tried to do, frankly, since 1619 is, as Stack would say, get free.
Yep.
And so much of this film looks at different ways to transgress, to literally break the rules and become free, and how those strategies do and do not have shortcomings. The first one, I think it's super important that money and capitalism is really ingrained in the plot of this film, where these two brothers, Smoke and Stack, have stolen this liquor from these gangs in Chicago, the Italian mob and the Irish mob. And they've stolen liquor. And I think it's important that they stole liquor, because when you look at the fortunes in this country, a lot of it was made off of bootlegging. So it seems like that's a way. So they've stolen this liquor. Now they're going to set up this juke joint. And it really is, we are going to have a business. We are going to build this business. And the film lets us know throughout that capitalism will not save us. I think one of the really sad aspects of this plot is that even if Remick never shows up, this juke joint isn't going to work.
Right.
We see throughout the first half of this film, one of the many amazing choices that Ryan Coogler makes, this backdrop of cotton, where this is the economy that these black people live in. And this cotton economy, this sharecropping economy, is not paying them. Like, they're being paid in basically company script. Like, they're given these tokens and they're not given money. So that even just logistically, the plot tells us that the brothers are going to run out of money, because this group of customers just doesn't have American currency to pay for everything. Also, they've purchased this property. Like, this is all part of what you do in America. We're capitalists. You start a business, you buy property. But the Klan is already planning to come in and murder them. So this whole bit with, well, capitalism can save us is a non-starter. Not for nothing, speaking of the last scene, I love the fact that Ryan Coogler puts a bow on this idea, where in a film that for an hour, the plot revolves around not letting vampires in, not letting vampires in, not letting vampires in. You have to invite them in, guard the door, don't let them in. Stack and Mary walk right in at the end, because they give the dude at the door, they tell him, I'll pay $200. And then they invite him in, which, again, do with that what you will, how money, and you invite the vampire in. But regardless, capitalism isn't going to save us. So then you look and you think about the rules, and the movie is called Sinners. And again, just sort of being transgressive and escaping these bonds. And you think about the role of sex.
Yep.
And there's so much sex in this film, so much talk about sex, but it's a very specific type of sex. Like, I think it is very important that so much of the talk about sex centers on female pleasure. Like, there's this conversation around the clitoris. Even when Bo comes back and Remick is speaking through Bo, he talks about, I know how much you like to be licked, and all of this that centers on female pleasure, which is always transgressive. Like, sex is always going to be something that breaks the rule. But even that doesn't really move the dial with anyone in this film. And then, of course, there's race. There's race. Okay, so it's racism, and racism holds us in, and that holds us down. So we got, and you and I have talked about this several times in the past. I think when we talk about race in this country, we focus on minorities and black people, but race in this country has always been about whiteness. And you have these two amazingly fascinating characters and how they move through whiteness. You, of course, have Remick, who I've been correcting people since this movie came out. Remick is not white. Remick is Irish.
Which in that 1932.
And by 1932, Remick is, depending on who you want to believe, depending on this, Remick came over in 1911. I think it is fair to infer from what he talks about when Ireland was taken over by the Christians. He's got these old gold coins. Remick is at least 100, perhaps 200 years old.
Actually, I saw somewhere
they said it was like 300 years old.
Like 1,300.
Right. So Remick is not white. And I love how Remick kind of moves in and out of it. Something I noticed today, which is why you have to watch it over and over again. When Remick comes to the two people's house and the Choctaw
Indians,
vampire hunters are chasing him, the first thing he says to the couple is, "The Choctaw are chasing me." Mm-hmm. He refers to them by name because he's not thinking in terms of race in America. He sees the Klan uniforms, realizes that he's dealing with these American
talking to,
and then he starts calling them Injuns because he understands this is the language that they use. The first time they go in, and we're talking about music, Pick Poor Robin Clean is a song that a black woman did. So now he's doing the very white thing of cultural appropriation. And he's singing the song. And as the film says, as both Cornbread and Stack say, it's not a bad little ditty. Mm-hmm. Like he doesn't do bad with it. Like it really is. You have your Elvis moment. Like, all right, this isn't bad. But then you compare that to the two other songs that that he does that presumably comes from his culture. You have the absolutely beautiful "Will Ye Go, Lassie Go," which is from the 18th century in Ireland. Mm-hmm. But it's a beautiful song because it's actually Remick's culture.
Right.
And then you have the second best music sequence in the film, which is, of course, Rocky Road to Dublin, which is just amazing.
It's a set piece.
But Remick is not white. Like the price that Europeans paid for whiteness is this sort of flattened, deadened nothing. Mm-hmm. Remick is Irish.
Yes.
And then on the other side, you, of course, have the real transgression of race with the character of Mary, who is, quote unquote, an octoroon. As she says in here, my daddy's mama was half black. She is 1/8 black, which in this wonderful casting, Haley Stanfield is 1/8 black. Like she actually has this makeup that they talk about. But for everyone visually, she is a white woman.
A white woman, yeah.
But she's not a white woman. She's octoroon. Because at this moment, people were lynched, people were murdered when they tried to do this. And you see how, again, race isn't going to free you. Like this isn't going to free you. Like you got these two kind of roles, but even that's not going to free you. And then, of course, you get to probably the centerpiece of this, and that would be religion.
Yeah.
And I have to say, you have these two.
It starts off the movie.
It starts off the movie, but, you have these two moments in the film that I've seen a lot of discourse that rub people the wrong way. And a lot of, I think a lot is a word I'm comfortable with. I think a lot of black Christians were uncomfortable with Delta Slim saying the blues came with us. It wasn't forced on us like this religion. And a lot of people, it rubbed people the wrong way, and that's demonic.
That's real.
But it's also historically accurate.
Exactly.
I think when we talk about European contact Christianity on the continent of Africa, we mainly talk about Ethiopia. Mm-hmm. Ethiopia Christianity is a completely different beast than what we practice here in the United States. B, the vast majority of us who are descended from enslaved Africans come from Western Africa.
Right.
Like we come from people that our first exposure was through slavery. Now, that doesn't mean, all the various and sundry disclaimers that you need to be comfortable with that, but that's just historically accurate. So, and then, you think about, as we mentioned, Remick knowing the Lord's Prayer, saying this is what they said, like, this is not your run-of-the-mill vampire movie where the Lord's Prayer and you assume a crucifix is going to
save you.
This has no effect on me. And then, speaking of the first scene, you have that wonderful parallel with Sammy's father and Remick being intercut, where both of them. So then you say, well, what is this freedom? And the freedom is, of course, the transcendence of the blues and this sort of this culture that comes from inside. And, of course, the centerpiece of the film, the part of the film that hopefully people didn't know was coming when they saw it. Like my fervent sinner's prayer for people is that no one heard about I lied to you before you went in, because I really do think it is this breathtaking, magnificent moment where Sammy transcends, as it says, the veil of time and space. And you have, of course, the African griots and all of this from the past, but then it goes the other way. And, you have this, someone who looks like he's from Parliament Funkadelic and MCs. And at one point there's break dancers. And then, shout out to, I just forgot my sister's name, the ballerina. But you see the Firebird and all of that. And the film argues that this is what frees us. This is what helps us to transcend, like our culture and everything that it represents. And I'll stop there with this, but it really is an extraordinary accomplishment. Like this is an extraordinary film, and you cannot say enough about it.
No, you can't. Especially now, that scene that you were talking about where Sammy's singing I Lied to You, which is an amazing song. And Miles Canton, who plays Sammy, just amazing presence for this to be his feature film debut.
Right.
You would not believe it. But that scene is a scene, you're right, it's like the core set piece of this film that everyone talks about. They talk about how his music, and they kind of tease it in the beginning of the film, talking about how music can lift the veil between this realm and others, and connect through time and space. And you see that taking place in that scene, and it's wonderful. Some people have had issues with it because there are some Chinese dancers they see through but that's because
exactly
there are Chinese people in that building, in that scene, which is also, to shout out to the research done for this film, historically accurate. To how Chinese who came and made their way in the South were part of that community.
Right. And Bo and Grace were there.
Bo and Grace are there. They are part of this story. And it could have been so easy for them to have just been another black couple in this film. But just that small little detail to put them in there, to have the Chinese experience be part of the overarching dialogue that this film is making about that time period, about 1930s in the Mississippi.
Well, you understand what Remick wants. Like, this is what Remick wants.
Yes, and that actually is, you, from a storytelling standpoint, you're right. What that shows is like, oh, so he's not just connected to his people, he's connected to everybody.
Opens the veil.
Opens the veil so he can help me connect to my people.
Right.
So this is why he's willing, like, yeah, I'll take everybody, but that's who I want.
Right.
Because there are only the select few. Because there's I mean, you know, there are plenty of musicians. There are plenty of musicians in that building.
Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, but there's only one Sammy.
Right.
Right. So storytelling wise, it makes sense, and it is just a beautifully crafted scene. I immediately, at the first time seeing it, it's like, you know, how that music and everybody's moving and the veil is lifted and now the building is burning around them. It's like, you know, the roof is on fire and we let that motherfucker burn.
We don't need no water.
Burn, motherfucker, burn. It is such an amazing moment, and yet for it to be such a singular moment in here, it is a testament to the talent that Ryan Coogler has, that it does not take away from the film at all. Mm-hmm. He does not, you know, outside of that one little line way at the beginning of the film, which is an hour before this scene happens, which some might even have forgotten about.
Right.
He doesn't speak to that again.
No.
This just happens in this surreal moment within the film. And you are there. You go with it because you've got a trusted, talented auteur, who has taken you by the hand and said, "Let me lead you through this magnificent story that I have presented for you. This original tale that takes our history, blends it with fantasy, blends it with horror, but also brings in the reality of our music, the reality of our experience, our shared experiences in this moment. All of us who were the other at this time, the blacks, the Irish, the Chinese, and look at this amazing accomplishment of filmmaking and story that I can present to you with one of the most incredible casts that you will see.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't even touch on it. And one of the reasons why we waited so long to talk about this film is because you said it. You can't really talk about this film without really getting into the nooks and crannies of everything that is happening in here, which gets spoilerish.
Right.
And you don't want to have to do that.
Right.
Especially not immediately.
Right. We're going to assume everyone has seen it at least once.
At least once. Right. We've seen it at least 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But the way, speaking about being a trusted filmmaker and speaking about to this cast, he didn't have to cast Michael B. Jordan in both roles.
Right.
This doesn't have to be twins.
Right.
It doesn't, and even if it twins, it doesn't necessarily have to be Michael B. Jordan. You can cast somebody that resembles Michael B. Jordan, they're fraternal twins or whatever. You know, they're brothers, they're a year apart, you know, whatever. But he cast Michael B. Jordan in this dual roles. And Michael B. Jordan, who this is their 5th collaboration.
Yes, it is.
Has slowly, steadily been very selective and smart about the roles that he has chosen. Leaps into this role and creates the character of Smoke and creates the character of Stack. And outside of their being played by the same actor, so they look the same facially and physically, he has created two singular characters.
It really is a marvel.
It is a marvel because it's a marvel in that they are singular characters who still very much feel like brothers, who feel like brothers, who still grew up together with their own idiosyncrasies but they still mesh together. But they still feel like totally different people. And that is hard to do.
Like they have amazing chemistry.
Yes.
With each other.
It is amazing.
But it's the same guy.
It's the same guy.
I 100% agree.
And the reason why you know it's the same guy, because it's the chemistry that they have with one another. Mm-hmm. They have different chemistry with everyone else in the film.
Yeah.
Not everyone relates to Smoke the same way that they relate to Stack. It's totally different.
You know what I love? Smoke doesn't have a whole lot of patience with Mary.
No, he don't.
Like they grew up together, you know, but you can always tell when Smoke is with Mary and when Stack is with Mary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Because, because Stack, Mary's a Jones.
Yeah.
It's that Jones. So so we start there. And then you talk about how this movie is a sexy film, and we talk about it. This is a sexy film. Mm-hmm. My God, it's a sexy film. But what I love about this film is that Stack and Mary, they have their relationship.
Right.
It's complicated to a degree by their race.
Right.
But it is still 100% heartfelt.
Right.
And outside of some snide commentary about their race, it really doesn't inform you about their relationship.
Look, she is an octoroon. Like, let's not act like that's not a thing. Like, let's not act like that is not a historical fact.
Right.
We talk. I always look for an opportunity to bring up my favorite little factoid that I learned from Cast, the book Cast. Race in America is so bananas. Mm-hmm. The Nazis came and studied racism here because they were like, we need to study the people that are the best at it. Mm-hmm. The Nazis said, y'all are doing good work. We took good notes. There are two things that y'all do that you too wild for us. All that carnival stuff that y'all do when you lynch people, cutting off people's ears and picnics and postcards. We are building factories to exterminate people, but that's too wild for us. Y'all having parties and balloons and giving ears to kids.
We're building factories away from town.
We also believe in the purity of the Aryan race, but y'all shit is too crazy for us. Mary is an octoroon. Again, 1/8. She got 7 white grandparents. I'm sorry, 7 white great-grandparents and 1 black great-grandparent. Mm-hmm. The 1-drop rule goes back to 1/64th. So, yeah, octoroon is pretty crazy, but it gets crazier. So, and again, this is who Haley Stanfield is.
Yes. Yes.
And this is passing. Like, this is, again, this is a historical thing. Like people talk and this this sentiment of, we'll cast somebody else, maybe Journey Smollett. No, Journey Smollett cannot pass.
No, not at all.
Haley Stanfield is passing. I mean, she's not passing because in 2025, we all pretend it doesn't matter anymore, and she's clearly living her life as a human being, and we don't talk about it, and the racism of the one-drop rule and everything that goes along with that. But let's be clear, biologically, Haley Stanfield is just like Mary.
Yes.
And Mary, in 1936, is an octoroon.
1932.
I'm sorry, 1932 is an octoroon, which is not a white person.
That's right.
So as they talk about in this film, if they catch her, a lot of times these people get murdered.
That's right.
So, you know.
But that has little say on her relationship with Stat.
Well, they grew up together. They love each other.
But I love how that plays out.
Smoke is he's about finished with her.
Well, Smoke is finished with her, but hey, Smoke got Annie.
Yes, he does.
He got Annie, and let me tell you, it was fun to read that the scene where Smoke and Annie meet, reunite more or less when he comes back, and lament the loss of their daughter. Mm-hmm. And they have, a scene where they come together. That was Umi Musaku's audition scene for the movie. And Ryan Coogler cast her in the room off of the chemistry built in that scene. And it is right there on screen.
And again, as you just point out, it's different chemistry.
It totally
between Michael B. Jordan and both actresses.
Yes. And shout out to this film who creates, how I want to say this, a fully beautiful, sexy black woman.
Yeah.
Who looks like Umi Musaku.
Look, man, Umi Musaku is and you know the great thing about us taping this, you and I are on record of this. We've been Umi Musaku people from the very beginning. You can actually timestamp when I became an Umi Musaku person. Like the episode of Lovecraft Country, she has on a pair of red shorts and she's sitting in the window, and I said, oh, I said, oh. Who is that? But yeah,
stick a pin in this.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
But shout out to this film for doing and let me tell you, I mean, like you said, we're fans. We are huge fans.
Huge.
But watching her move in this movie, in this film, it is absolutely amazing. Shout out the return of Delroy Lindo. We've joked about, like Delroy Lindo, where has he been? Like Lawrence Fishburne and Samuel Jackson stole his lunch money, but when he shows up,
look,
that man show up.
Look, you talking about scenes and so much of the scene where he tells the story. Of his friend. A lot of that was improvised by
Delroy Lindo.
Right. Like the emotion, the sentiment. Yeah, look, this cast is everything. This cast is absolutely everything. And you and I talked about, like, the young actress that plays Grace and Beau's daughter we see in one scene. I wanted to know everything about her. Like, what happens? My favorite little scene in this film, it's not my favorite scene, but like the scene that really, quite honestly, makes me the happiest in this film is that moment where Smoke, you realize he really is a girl dad. When he has that moment with the girl to guard the truck, and he teaches her how to negotiate.
Yes, that is a great scene.
It's a throwaway scene. It's just a character building moment. Numbers got to converse with each other.
That's right.
But it's such a beautiful little scene. And I love the fact that this moment, he's kind of changed her life. Something else that I saw someone note talking about that scene in a culture where we always adultify, I don't know if that's a word or not, adultify black girls. And, you know, this girl looked like she was 13, maybe 14. He still treats her like a child. Like you're a child. Like, I'm here to mentor you. I'm here to teach you about things. And I love that. Like, I love that little, again, it's the details that you have in this.
But he
film.
gives her the respect. Gives her respect.
I mean, he's teaching her.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
when you say treat her like a child, I thought you were trying to say like he was being dismissive.
No, not at all. I mean, actually, again, he's a girl dad. He's actually mentoring and nurturing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is like a small little, you know, throwaway scene in there. That is a great scene. I actually like the scene where he goes to pick up cornbread, played by Omar Miller. Omar Miller showing up. I haven't seen him in a minute.
Stack goes and picks him up.
Stack goes to pick him up because that's right, because Sammy's with him. Omar's wife is like, oh, he ain't going nowhere. Well, I'm about to pay him. He's like, all right. Well,
how much? Well,
how much you paying?
But again, this is not going to save us.
True.
Like this is part of the reason that ultimately, you know, he ends up dead. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I love the fact that Delta Slim immediately sees the holes in this plan. Like, you gonna pay me $40 tonight, but what about next week and the week after that? Like, he absolutely understands the dynamic of these two black men trying to build a business in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Mm-hmm. But his greed gets the best of him. And, you know, he goes against, frankly, his good instincts.
But do you think that it was his greed going against him?
Not greed for money, but he liked that good Irish beer.
Okay, yes. Well, yes.
In his defense, you can't beat an ice-cold Guinness.
Ice Cold Guinness is a good beer. Mm-hmm. One of the few beers I did enjoy.
That's not free advertising, though. Strike that from the record. Go ahead. Guinness ain't paid us no money.
But I don't think it was just I don't think it was just that. I think it was also. I think it was actually, honestly. I think what made the difference for him was hearing Sammy.
With Sammy, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think it is.
Look, I love
because sorry to cut you off. That is the power that Sammy is touching into. Mm-hmm. That Delta probably feels like pulled to that. Like, oh, that's different.
And I love how protective everybody is of Sammy. Speaking of that scene, I noticed today, it's all jokey, but you know, there's a moment where Sammy starts to play his guitar, and Delta Slim tells him, you know, no, it is my, and you know, if you weren't, you know, a young boy, and this, I'd cut you. Mm-hmm. And Stack immediately says, ha, 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 it's all jokey, but if you threaten him again, we gonna have a problem. Like, I love how protective the twins and then eventually Delta Slim and everybody is of Sammy.
Become of Sammy.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, and you're right, and you're right to point that out that happens then, because in that moment, Sammy he's protecting his cousin.
Right.
But as the night goes on,
exactly,
he becomes everybody's like,
exactly.
Oh, he's ours.
Exactly.
He's our young boy that we got to look out for.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I mean, he's the holder of this. He's the holder of culture.
Right.
You know, he's the standard bearer. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah.
So, and I do want to like there are two end scenes because I do think this notion of spirituality and religion and what it can and cannot do for you is explored in this film. But I do think there is an end note to this, you know, we brought this with us. It was enforced on us, like this religion, and even Remick knowing the Lord's Prayer. I think it is super important that the final scene, you know, not the scene after the scene with Stack and Mary, is Sammy young Sammy singing This Little Light of Mine, but he's singing it as a blues song. Mm-hmm. So that what I left with, what the film leaves me with, is that all of this can work together. You know?
Yeah.
The problem is when you want to separate the blackness.
Right.
Or you want to, you know, sort of demonize the blackness, which, you know, you know, obviously I love us. Like, I love black people. But there's a kind of black person that annoys the hell out of me. And you see it sometimes, like it's a type of black person that always sees something demonic in blackness, like you know, Beyonce is demonic. Fraternities and sororities are demonic.
Oh, okay.
The blues are demonic. Like, why is it always black stuff that's demonic to you? And who told you that?
I don't know any black people like that.
Oh, you're a good man.
I don't.
You've done a much better job than me.
I'm sorry.
Kind of, yeah. But I love the fact that that final moment is that this is also part of it. Like, I got the sense that that transcendent moment that pulled in all of these different aspects of blackness, if you went far enough, it was Aretha Franklin at the Amazing Grace sessions.
If you kept expanding
if it kept expanding out.
Yeah. You know what? I actually thought that in the wake of this film, that somebody was going to do some kind of like screen capture, and like you're going to point out like, oh my God, there's Michael Jackson over there,
right?
Like, oh my God, there's little Stevie, like, I just knew that was going to happen,
right?
Something like that. Yeah, I feel on that. But we're waxing poetic about this film, and rightfully so, because this film has few holes, and there's and we have talked about the film as a film, how successful it is, and how it has become probably one of the cultural touchstones, I think, of the 21st century in film.
Yeah, we'll be talking about this.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there have been 3 cultural touchstones for black people in film in the 21st century.
Okay.
I think it's been Black Panther.
Yeah.
The first one.
Absolutely.
Get Out.
Yes.
And now Sinners.
I 100%. How are you defining touchstones?
Like the films that not only do they get us talking, not only does it become that word of mouth that you're telling everyone, yo, you've got to see, that not only does it become this communal conversation and event for everyone and like full on embrace, not only does it become such a community, like such a fire within our community that outside communities are looking in. Hey, what's going on there? So now you've got, them showing up to Black Panther, Get Out, as well as Sinners as well. That doesn't. I think that rarely happens.
Okay.
And in that, I think Sinners, Get Out, Black Panther in the 21st century.
I think I agree with you. I think, I'm trying to think the last 20 years. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I really do. And what I think about is you're talking about the last 20 years. I'm thinking about black films that we're going to talk about from now on.
Yes.
Like just from now on.
And I think this will be one of them.
We'll be talking about Daughters of the Dust 100 years from now. We'll be talking about Do the Right Thing.
Will this be one of those films that we put up and say, oh, is this that? Right. You know how we say, oh, is this Daughters of the Dust? Is this Black Panther?
Yeah.
All the films that followed in the wake of Get Out.
I agree.
I think this is going to be
I agree with you. I agree with it. And I think it is worth noting the obvious that 2 of these films were directed by Ryan Coogler.
Yep. And feature Michael B. Jordan.
Do you think he's ever been better?
Michael B. Jordan?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Me either.
Not at all.
Me either. I was.
And he's good. He's good.
I like Michael B. Jordan. You know what? We were talking about text that start to age poorly as years go on. You know, the longer I engage Black Panther, the more I'm impressed with him in Black Panther.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I liked him when it came out, but I have to say, I really, really enjoy him more and more in Black Panther the longer it goes on. And yeah, I don't think he's ever been better.
No.
I don't think he's ever been better than in this
Absolutely.
film. And again, as you said, we've watched, this is my third time seeing it. And kind of like you said, I am amazed at how fully he creates these two characters.
Mm-hmm.
Their physicality, as you mentioned, the way they interact with other actors, the way they interact with each other.
I know that scene where they're like handing the cigarette back to
Right.
forth.
Look, again, kind of when I start, when Stack says, it's the last time I saw your brother, my brother, it made me sad. And then I realized, they're the same dude, right? Like, this isn't the case that these two actors aren't going to work together again. We, of course, have to point out, again, the details. I wanted to talk a little bit about the costumes. Ruth Carter, once again, the period piece costumes. But I absolutely adored all of the information that you get from 1992, Stack and Mary.
1932.
No, 1992.
Oh, 1992. Okay, right. Oh, yes.
Where Stack is wearing the iconic Coogler sweater.
Yes, he is.
That Biggie is going to wear 2 years later. 1992, for those of you keeping track, and caught the "we going to build us a business for us by us." 1992 is also the year
Of?
that FUBU premieres. And talking about Mary and her race, she may have been trying to hide her race in the 30s, but in 1992, she was actually a roundaway girl sucking on a lollipop. Bamboo earrings sucking on a lollipop.
A la LL Cool J.
Right. So this level of detail, this level of I also love the fact that you've got that wonderful line when Smoke is about to die. And Annie from the spirit world tells him, you can hold the baby when you put that cigarette out, because I don't want to get smoke on her.
I know.
Because now he's Elijah. Stack's still stacked out. Because he's got the finger ring that says Stack.
That's true.
Yeah.
Shout out to Buddy Guy in that scene.
Who knew?
8 years old.
Has Buddy Guy acted in anything before?
No. 88 years old, knocked it out.
He was Sammy.
He was older Sammy.
He was older Sammy. And again, I felt this real intimacy between Vampire, Annie, and Stack in Little Sammy.
Shout out. And you know what? That's the first scene they shot for the film.
Okay.
That's the first scene they shot for the film.
I gotta tell you, I don't know a lot about Haley Stanfield outside of the Marvel stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know she. I was not familiar with her work.
She's a good actress.
Yeah, she is.
She's no joke.
Yeah,
she's the real deal.
yeah,
She is absolutely the real deal.
yeah. Just a little bit behind the curtain. What Lynn and I were talking about when the show came on was the wonderful Jamie Larson, and whether or not she should be playing Storm or not.
Yes, Jamie Larson, who plays Pearline.
Look,
Let me ask you a question.
you understand why that man named a club after her 50 years later?
Okay. I saw some people bump on this a little bit.
Okay.
So Pearline,
Yes.
he saw Sammy met Pearline at the train station.
Yes, he did, but he had seen her before.
But he'd seen her before singing around.
Yeah.
And now he's seen her at the train station.
Right.
And and Sammy, who I think we're led to believe is not that experienced with women.
No.
All right. I don't know whether or not he's supposed to be a virgin, but
Right.
he's Not a whole lot of experience.
Right.
But he run good game at the train station.
Look.
He is a musician.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So he put.
Said, you seem like a nice young man. He said, I ain't that young and I ain't that nice either. I said, all right, Sammy.
Okay.
Sam
I didn't know.
Sam got a little game.
I know his last name was D'Angelo.
Right.
But so he gets her to come to the juke joint that night.
Yes.
Pearline.
Yes.
Who says that she's married.
Yes, I'm going to take her at her word.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, some things happen
Yes, they
between
do.
Sammy and Pearline
Yes.
at the juke joint.
What's your question?
When the Ku Klux Klan show up there, do you think that Pearline's husband was on his way to the juke joint too?
I'm not going to say I'm haunted by Pearline's husband. But I do wonder about Pearline's husband in all this.
Yeah. Like, I'm not looking for my wife.
You know, I think he gets up, probably going to church or, not going to church. And then, I just assume that Monday, a whole bunch of people have vanished and it's all these dead white people out at the juke joint. And then it's just a whole bunch of rumor and things that go on. And Pearline is just part of the 40 black people who have vanished. So it's like 40 black people have vanished. It's like 15 dead white men,
and one black guy.
And one black guy. Like Smoke. It's like 15 dead white guys, and like Smoke killed the mayor, the chaplain, the sheriff, all of the various and sundry white businessmen who had come out there to do whatever. And then all these black people have vanished, and your wife is one of them. I mean, I assume he's probably sad for the amount of time. I mean, obviously it's not a good marriage.
What do you mean, obviously it's not a good marriage?
Because she snuck out to have sex with a 19-year-old boy that she just met at the train station.
That doesn't mean that it wasn't a good marriage.
No, that actually does mean it's not a good marriage.
It doesn't mean it wasn't a good marriage. It means that she went out. She went out to the club.
No, she went out to the club. She went out to the club for a reason. She didn't go to just hear no music.
So you saying she was wrong?
Well, I'm saying she was a sinner. It's right there in the title.
Well, we know that.
Right, it's right there in the title. I'm saying let's be clear. It's, again, there's transgression and there's transcendence.
Okay, all right.
We're just breaking the rules.
Okay.
I like Pearline, but yeah, Pearline's husband, probably for the best. Again, he woke up, she went to church, and again, it's like,
don't need this.
Like, where anybody seen Earl? And who else? Sadie Mae is missing too.
Cornbread ain't came home with.
Where's Charlie? Right, Cornbread ain't come home. It's like 40 black people have vanished and there's ashes everywhere.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Bunch of dead white men and smoke.
Is there, to be fair reviewers.
Fair reviewer, yeah.
Is there any bad note?
Not only do I not think there are any bad notes, but speaking of Black Panther and Get Out, and a bunch, the films that we've talked about, like I pulled because I always go to Daughters of the Dust because it's something, or Do the Right Thing. Like, these are films that I've seen so many times that you can kind of get down on a granular level. I find new things every time out. Like, this is my third time watching it. I realized this time that the choir was actually singing This Little Light of Mine at the beginning, which then is the bookend. And, there's like the first song many of us learned as children. So, you kind of, again, it's the root. So I don't think there is.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't think there is.
Everything works.
I'm trying to think of criticism that I've read. And the one criticism that I've heard is the simplicity of the plot. Like, the plot is basically they come into town, but it's a blues song. Like the blues is AABA, and the film is actually a blues song. It's like, you know, Preacher Boy Sammy plays the blues, and you know you see him playing the blues, and then the second line Preacher Boy Sammy plays. It's like it emphasizes the first line.
Mm-hmm.
Third line, whole bunch of stuff happens. Some vampires come, but they gonna make sure to get Preacher Boy home. Fourth line, Preacher Boy sings the blues.
Yeah.
And there's the beauty is in the simplicity of form.
Yes.
Like there are no plot twists. There is no third act reveal.
No.
I mean, even the bit with them surviving at the end. I'm not going to say it's foreshadowed, but it's completely within the character of Smoke. Like, there's no way Smoke is killing Stack.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not. I mean, shit, Smoke was about to let Stack out the room.
Right.
Smoke was about to go out there with Stack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the one thing I've seen people talk about, and I disagree with, is people give Grace a hard time for being the person that invites them in.
Right.
And I push back on that because Grace, as far as we know of everyone that has survived, is the only one that has a child out there.
Yes.
That she is what she is concerned about.
But not family. There's something else I love about that character, because that's...
And she's not... Were you saying she's not family?
No. What I'm saying that there is a character beat for Smoke and Stack with that. Again, if I go by what the movie has set up, when Remick turns you, he now has access
to your
memories, which is how he's able to speak Chinese to Grace, and everybody learns about what Grace liked to be licked. But at this point, he's also turned Mary and Stack, which means he has access to their memories, which means that he knows that Sammy's family is also out there. He never threatens Sammy's family. Like, he never says, Sammy, come out here or I'm going
after your dad.
After your dad, your mother, and your siblings. Because turned or not, he don't want that smoke from Stack.
Right.
And I love that. Like, I love, you know, Grace is the one you threaten. Because if you threaten Sammy's family, now you got a whole other problem.
Right. Fair. And
so, yeah, I agree with you. I think.
And I think it's fair that she's worried. She wants to get there. Because I also love the beat that when they do come in, she goes straight for her husband.
Yeah.
She goes straight for her husband, and they both die right there on the spot. Yeah. So I like that storytelling. Yeah.
Again, everyone, and you talk about this, everyone is acting to the full height of their intelligence. They have established character. All of these characters move in a way that these characters would move.
Yes.
Like, nothing happens just because of plot convenience.
Right. It's no false move.
Yeah.
In this movie. Great movie. Fantastic film.
Yeah, look.
If you haven't seen Sinners, now's the time. Stop the podcast. Go see Sinners. It is available at home right now for you, you to watch. You can buy it digitally. It's actually going to be on HBO Max, I think, within next week sometime as well. So if you're a subscriber to Max, and you know we don't do free advertising.
No, we do not.
We want you to see this film. See it. Love it. My sister just saw the film.
What'd you think?
One, she loves it.
Okay.
Two, like my sister always does when she discovers something that the world has already discovered. Oh my God, now I see what everybody's talking about. Let's all get together and talk about it. We've already talked about it, Les. Oh, I can't wait for you to review it. Well, we're reviewing it on Tuesday. I've got a meeting. Okay. So, to Les, who will be watching this later, I hope you've enjoyed our review of Sinners.